ABC, from school grounds to school gardens. Now we move on to B of the ABC, which is planning. Once a decision has been made about a good space for the garden, children can be involved in preparing the space for the installation. The grounds may need to be cleared of encumbering objects or debris. The head teacher may need to be involved if changes to the grounds are required. If there is an existing garden in a school already, children may need help from parents or other community members to harvest what is left in the garden and clear the garden from weeds and other debris. Moving on to design, engaging children in designing their garden space is a creative activity which will give children the chance to explore opportunities for growing, but also taking into account some of the constraints. For example, the design of a school garden will need to include the basics for plant survival. Is there sunlight? What about access to the water mains? If no direct access is present, what can we do in order to water the plants? Can we use or reuse some ad hoc containers? And what about soil? How much soil do we need? Another important element to consider when designing a garden space is the shape and size of containers. The bigger the containers, the more soil will be needed. But the size of the space would also depend on the choice of vegetables that will be grown. And finally, another important element is storage. Is there a shelter for storing tools? Is there a space for composting bins? So the design of a garden may include pots and smaller planters, which can be allocated to small groups of children to look after. Dividing the growing space will also allow the teacher to work with classroom assistants to take smaller groups outside at any one point. It is also important to recognize that a garden is not simply the planter or the raised beds, but it may include other areas where children can plant some flowers for wildlife, for example, or they may engage in constructing a vertical growing area. Mapping and designing a garden spaces are two important parts of the process. Again, it will give children the opportunity to be creative with their space, create a sense of anticipation, but also to deal with constraints and be responsible for the decisions they make. In class, children can take forward some research about what plants can be grown in Scotland and discuss their preferences. If they live in another region other than Scotland, they will need to look at the different features regarding the growing season for different vegetables.